Hi everyone, welcome back to Numerics with Nadia. In this lesson, we're going to go over how to convert between improper fractions to mixed numbers and mixed numbers to improper fractions. This is a topic where a lot of students get confused. So if you haven't watched the video before this, introducing improper fractions and mixed numbers, please watch that one first in the fraction playlist and then come back to this video. But for now, let's get into today's lesson. So let's go through our first part of our lesson and go through how to convert improper fractions to mixed numbers. So we're going to go through two ways to solve this. The first way to solve this, we're going to do it through long division. I know that some of you guys might be a little bit out of practice with this, so I will go through an example here to kind of show you what I'm talking about. And don't worry if this method is too confusing. We're going to go through another one as well later in the video, so just stay with me for now as we go through this example. So for this one, let's start with something like 14 thirds. So as a review, this is an improper fraction because the numerator is greater than the denominator, right? Now, the two parts of the fraction here that's going to be important for our division is to determine which part is the divisor and which part is the dividend. Now, the divisor is what we're going to be dividing by, that's our denominator, and the dividend is what we're dividing, and that would be our numerator of 14 here. So we've taken our improper fraction of 14 thirds and made the divisor the denominator, right? And the dividend our numerator. So we're going to go through now and start to do this division process. So now I'm going to ask myself, how many times does 3 go into 1? Well, that wouldn't really work, right? Because 3 is greater than 1. So now we'll move on to our second digit. Now we'll think about how many times would 3 go into 14 evenly, right? We have to make sure it goes through evenly for our long division. So we know that 3 times 4 gives me 12. So I'll write that. And when I subtract, I get a remainder of 2. So we can start it off by writing it like that, 4 remainder 2. But that 2, that's actually 2 thirds. Now, why is this? That doesn't make any sense. The 2 thirds is because our divisor was 3, right? So if we're having a remainder of 2, that 2 would still go over the 3. So our whole number, right, components of mixed numbers is a whole number in a fraction. We have 4 and we have 2 thirds. So our improper fraction of 14 thirds would be equivalent to 4 and 2 thirds. For our second method now, we're going to go through it diagrammatically using pie charts, which we have previously used in different lessons. If you don't know how to derive a pie chart from a fraction, please go back and view the videos from the prior lesson. If we take the same 14 thirds from our first method and apply it here, 14 thirds is a part of a whole, right? So we're going to go through and we're going to draw our pie charts, and our pie charts will be split into 3, right? Because that's our denominator. And we're going to count through to 14, and we're going to see how many full pie charts did we take up and what is left over. So as you see here, we have gone through 4 complete pie charts filled in blue, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. And in that fifth one, we only have 2 thirds of it filled in. So our 14 thirds, the part of our whole, when we go through it diagrammatically, we would get the same 4 and 2 thirds. Now let's take what we've learned from these past two methods and incorporate them into our third method, which is a shortcut. Because, on tests and quizzes, we might not have enough time to draw everything out with pie charts or maybe do the long division every single time. So with our shortcut, let's use the same example. And what we're going to do is we're going to ask ourselves a series of questions that'll help us kind of work backwards into finding our mixed number from our improper fraction. So to start, we're going to look at 14/3 again, and we're going to ask ourselves, how many times does 3 go into 14 fully? So this is kind of like the long division step, right? 3 goes into 14 4 times fully, right? When we do 3 times 4, we get 12. Now that we know that, we're going to ask our next question. What is left over? Now from 12, 2 would be left over, right? So our answer to that question would be 2. Let's put those two components together. We know that 3 goes into 14 fully 4 times, so that will be our whole number. What is left over? That'll give us 2. That's our numerator of our fraction. And then the 2 would be over 3 because that was our initial divisor. So now that we've gone through a few different ways of converting improper fractions to mixed numbers, now we'll start with the second part of our lesson where we will convert mixed numbers to improper fractions. Now for this one, we're only going to go through one method here, and we're going to skip straight to the shortcut because it is the easiest way. And now that we have a basis and understanding on how to work one way, working the opposite way is going to be a little bit more straightforward. So for our shortcut here, we are going to do it in a few steps. Step 1, we are going to multiply the whole number component of our mixed number by the denominator of our fraction. And then for step 2, we're going to take the result of that, the result of multiplying the whole number by the denominator of our fraction, and we're going to add that to the numerator. And those two first steps are the main part of converting mixed numbers to improper fractions. For step 3, we're going to see that the result of step 2 is going to be the numerator of our improper fraction, and the initial denominator of our fraction will just carry through. So I know that this might be a little bit confusing, but we're going to go through a few examples to really clear this up and help us understand this. So for our first example here, let's start with something like 4 3/4. So this is a mixed number, right? Because we have a whole number and a fraction. What we're going to do, we're going to multiply the denominator times our whole number, and then we're going to take that result and add it to our numerator. So we have 4 times 4, and then we're going to add 3 to that, and then our denominator is going to carry through of 4. So I'm writing it out the long way for this first one so we can really see what happens. We do 4 times 4, we get 16. We add 3 more, we get 19. That is it. That's all we do for converting mixed numbers to improper fractions. Let's do another one now. Let's say we had 6 2/5. I'm going to multiply the 6 times the 5, right? And then add 2. So 30 plus 2 will give me 32. And my denominator will carry through, so 32 over 5. And for our third example, let's say we had 9 4/7. So we're going to multiply denominator by our whole number, 7 times 9. Whatever that is, we'll add 4 to it. So we'll have 7 times 9 is 63, plus 4 would give me 67. And then it's going to go over the same denominator of 7, so 67 over 7. Now that we've gone through both parts of this lesson, let's go through and do some more examples because practice makes progress, right guys? So if we're converting improper fractions to mixed numbers, our first one here, we have 32 over 6. Well, 6 times 5 will give me 30, right? 6 goes into 32 5 times fully. And then what's left over, it would be 2. So it would be 5 2/6. For our next one, we have 43 over 5. We know 5 goes into 43 8 times fully, right? That gives me 40. So the remainder would be 3. So 8 3/5. For number 3, we have 59 over 9. 9 goes into 59 how many times fully?
Well, we know that 9 times 6 gives me 54, right? So 9 goes into 59 6 times fully. That's our whole number. And then what would be left over? It would be 5 over 9. So 6 and 5 nines. And for our last one, 21 over 2, we know that 2 goes into 21 10 times fully. And then what's left over? 1. So 10 and 1/2. Now we'll do some examples of the reverse. So what happens if we have the mixed number and you want to go to the improper fraction? We do our multiply and plus shortcut, right? So we have our denominator of 9. 9 times 8 will give me 72 plus 3, 75. All done. Number 2, we have 10 as our denominator. We'll multiply that times 1. 10 times 1 is 10. Plus 8 will give me 18, so 18 over 10. For number 3, we have 3 and 4/5. I'm going to take my denominator of 5, multiply it by our whole number. 3 times 5 gives me 15 plus 4, 19 over 5. And for our last one, we have 2 and 5/6. We multiply our denominator of 6 times 2, we get 12. Plus 5, we get 17. So it would be 17 over 6. And that is it, you guys. We did it. We learned how to convert improper fractions to mixed numbers to improper fractions. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please feel free to like and subscribe, comment if you have any questions, and stay tuned for the next lesson.